Being adopted was never a secret in our family. My sister Emma made sure of that. Every chance she got, she'd remind me that I wasn't real family, that Dad had only taken me in because my birth parents died in a car crash when I was 2. Remember Lily, she'd say at family gatherings, her perfect smile never reaching her eyes. You're here because of Charity, Daddy's good heart. For 15 years, I endured it, watched as Emma got the best of everything. Private school, expensive cars, unlimited shopping sprees. Meanwhile, Dad insisted I work part-time jobs, learn the value of money, live modestly. Emma called it proof that I wasn't really loved. I didn't understand it then, now I do. Dad owned Wilson Enterprises, a mid-sized investment firm, as far as anyone knew. Emma strutted around town as the heir apparent, already working as vice president at age 28. I chose a different path, working at a small nonprofit helping underprivileged kids, something Emma mockingly called staying in my lane. Everything changed 3 months ago when Dad was diagnosed with aggressive pancreatic cancer. The doctors gave him weeks. Emma immediately took charge, barely letting me visit him in the hospital. Family only during these precious moments, she'd say sweetly to the nurses, emphasizing the word family while shooting me meaningful looks. But Dad insisted on seeing me alone one afternoon. Emma was furious, but she couldn't refuse him. Not when he was so weak. Lily, he said, his voice barely a whisper, I need you to know something. He pressed a small key into my hand. After I'm gone, go to First National Bank, Box 2247. Everything will make sense. Dad, what? I started, but Emma burst in, claiming Dad needed rest. That was the last time I spoke to him. He passed away 2 days later. The funeral was exactly as Emma wanted. Grand, expensive, showy. She gave a tearful eulogy about being Daddy's only real daughter and how she'd honor his legacy. I sat quietly in the back, the small key burning a hole in my pocket. Then came the will reading. Emma arrived at the lawyer's office in designer clothes, practically glowing with anticipation. Her husband James, a senior manager at Wilson Enterprises, looked equally confident. Various board members and executives filled the room, all expecting Emma to take control. Mr. Harrison, Dad's lawyer for 30 years, cleared his throat. Before we begin, Mr. Wilson left a video to be played. Emma straightened in her chair. Daddy always had a flair for dramatics, she laughed. Others chuckled sycophantically. The screen lit up, and Dad appeared, recorded just weeks before his death. If you're watching this, I'm gone, he began. And it's time for the truth to come out. He paused, taking a deep breath. Wilson Enterprises is just the tip of the iceberg. For 30 years, I've built an empire in secret. 15 companies, all operating independently, worth a combined $4.2 billion. The room erupted in gasps. Emma's smile froze. Emma, Dad continued, you've spent your life believing you were entitled to everything. You bullied your sister, thinking being my biological daughter made you special. His voice hardened. You were wrong. Emma's face went pale. Lily, Dad's eyes seemed to find me through the screen. That key I gave you. It opens a safety deposit box containing everything. All the documentation, all the companies, everything. While Emma played executive at Wilson Enterprises, you were learning real lessons: humility, hard work, compassion. That's why you, my beloved adopted daughter, are the sole heir to everything. The room exploded into chaos. Emma leaped to her feet, screaming, this isn't possible. But Dad wasn't finished. Wilson Enterprises was a test, Emma, one you failed spectacularly. Your treatment of employees, your arrogance, your cruelty to your sister, I saw it all. The real empire requires a different kind of leader. Mr. Harrison paused the video and pulled out a thick folder. The official documents naming Lally Wilson as CEO and sole owner of all 15 companies, including Wilson Enterprises. Emma lunged for the papers, but security stepped forward. I hadn't even noticed them entering the room. This isn't over, she shrieked. I'm his real daughter, his blood. Blood doesn't make a family, I said quietly, standing up. Dad taught me that. Not through words, but through lessons you never bothered to learn. I pulled out the key Dad had given me. Shall we see what's in that safety deposit box, Mr. Harrison? Emma's face contorted with rage. You can't do this. I've run Wilson Enterprises for years. The board won't be supporting you. James suddenly spoke up, looking at his phone. The stock price just jumped 30% on news of the leadership change. The market has spoken. Emma turned to him in shock. James. But he was already walking toward me, hand extended. Ms. Wilson, I look forward to working under your leadership. As Emma collapsed into her chair, mascara running down her face, I felt no joy. Only a deep understanding of why Dad had arranged everything this way. But this was just the beginning. The contents of Dad's safety deposit box changed everything. Inside, we found meticulously organized files detailing all 15 companies, tech startups, real estate developments, renewable energy projects, and more. Each folder contained not just legal documents, but personal notes from Dad explaining why he'd chosen me to lead them. While Emma played office politics, one note read, I watched you volunteer at homeless shelters. When she demanded a new car, you took the bus to save money for college. You have the heart this empire needs. But the biggest surprise wasn't the companies, it was the video. Hello, Lily. Dad's face appeared on Mr. Harrison's laptop. If you're watching this, you've already learned about your inheritance. But there's more. He smiled, his eyes twinkling. Remember all those part-time jobs I made you work? The internships at small companies? Those weren't random. Each one was a subsidiary of our empire. Your supervisors have been reporting to me for years about your kindness, your work ethic, your leadership. My mind raced, remembering all those jobs. The summer I spent at a tech startup. The year at a renewable energy company. The nonprofit work. Even your current job, Dad continued. The nonprofit? It's part of our charitable foundation. You've been running a multi-million-dollar operation without even knowing it. Your programs have helped thousands. Emma's scream from the hallway interrupted the video. She was being escorted out by security, still protesting that blood mattered more than anything else. Over the next few weeks, the truth about Dad's empire unfolded. Each company was more impressive than the last, all operating under different names to avoid drawing attention. But most surprising were the people. Sarah from my first summer job was actually a Harvard MBA who'd been assessing my management skills. Mike, the janitor I'd always chatted with at the nonprofit, turned out to be a senior strategist evaluating my character. Everyone had been watching, reporting back to Dad. Emma didn't take her disinheritance quietly. She hired lawyers, claiming mental incompetence, undue influence, anything she could think of. But Dad had prepared for that too. Your sister will fight, his next video predicted. So I've arranged something special. That something special was revealed at the emergency board meeting Emma demanded. She arrived with an army of lawyers, confident she'd win over the board with her experience. Instead, she found the room filled with faces she didn't recognize. Allow me to introduce the real board, Mr. Harrison announced. Representatives from all 15 companies who've been watching both of you for years. One by one, they stood and shared their observations. Ms. Emma Wilson routinely belittled employees. Ms. Lily Wilson stayed late to help junior staff. Emma fired people for minor mistakes. Lily created mentorship programs. Emma's face grew paler with each statement. Her lawyers shifted uncomfortably. Then came the final blow. Your father, Mr. Harrison announced, left one last condition in his will. Any legal challenge to Lily's leadership triggers an immediate clause. All of Emma's shares in Wilson Enterprises, the 2% she actually owns, will be donated to the charitable foundation Lily runs. Emma's lawyers quickly ushered her out. Her husband James stayed behind. I knew, he admitted quietly. Your father told me years ago. It was my job to watch Emma, to give her chances to change. She never did. The next few months were intense. I moved between all 15 companies, learning operations, meeting employees, understanding Dad's vision. To everyone's surprise, except maybe Dad's, I took to it naturally. All those years of diverse work experience had prepared me perfectly. Emma tried one last desperate move. She called a press conference, planning to reveal everything and paint herself as the victim. Instead, she found herself facing reporters who'd been given full documentation of her years of mismanagement and employee abuse. In fact, one reporter asked, "Isn't it true that Wilson Enterprises stock has risen 45% since your sister took over?" The cameras caught her storming out. 6 months after Dad's passing, I stood in my office, his old office, looking at a photo of us from my college graduation. Emma had refused to attend, claiming she was too busy. Dad had beamed with pride anyway. A knock at the door interrupted my thoughts. It was Emma, looking different, tired, subdued. The charitable foundation, she said quietly. I heard they're helping people learn business skills. People who need second chances. I nodded, understanding what she wasn't quite asking. Class starts Monday at 9, I replied. Don't be late. She turned to leave, then paused. I'm sorry, she whispered, so softly I almost missed it. For everything. I know, I answered. Dad knew you had it in you too. That's why he arranged all this. After she left, I opened Dad's last letter, the one marked open when Emma apologizes. My dear Lily, it read, if you're reading this, the real work begins. Leading companies is important, but leading people back to their better selves, that's the true legacy I wanted to leave. Take care of your sister. Take care of our people. And remember, I chose you not because she failed, but because you succeeded at being human first and a businesswoman second. Today, the empire runs smoothly. Emma started at entry level in the foundation, finally learning the lessons Dad tried to teach us both. The nonprofits programs have expanded to 50 cities. And that photo from graduation? It sits on my desk, next to a newer one. Emma and me at the foundation's first graduation ceremony, both of us smiling. Real smiles this time. Dad built an empire in secret, but his greatest achievement wasn't the money or the companies. It was teaching 2 daughters, one by blood, one by choice, that true wealth isn't in what you own, but in how you treat others. Sometimes at night, I walk through the empty office, remembering the little girl who thought she wasn't real family. Dad knew better. He knew that family isn't about blood. It's about love, learning, and sometimes learning to love again. Emma's office at the foundation isn't as grand as her old one. But last week, I saw her stay late to help a struggling student with their business plan. When she caught me watching, she smiled, a real smile like when we were kids, before money and status poisoned everything. That's when I knew Dad's plan had worked perfectly. He hadn't just left me an empire. He'd given Emma a chance to find her soul. And in the end, that was worth more than all 15 companies combined.